action. This book tells the story of how they cornered that market. It is a terrible feeling to sense a threat coming. It is worse when the threat reveals itself to be real, especially when many of those you warned still dismiss it, and you do not know whether their reaction is rooted in apathy or doubt or fear. What is a warning in the end, if not a confession? A declaration of what you value and what you will fight to protect. To warn of a threat and be dismissed is to have your own worth questioned, along with the worth of all you strive to keep safe. But there is a price to be paid in persuasiveness too. I used to think that the worst feeling in the world would be to tell a terrible truth and have no one believe it. I have learned it is worse when that truth falls not on deaf ears, but on receptive ones. It is one thing to listen, it is another to care, and yet another to act in time. In fall 2015, I predicted that Donald Trump would win the presidential election, and that once installed, he would decimate American democracy. It was the latest in a career of issuing unheeded warnings. For years, I had warned of the widespread erosion of American institutions and social trust. I wrote a series of essays documenting my nation's demise, many of which were later published in my first book, The View from Flyover Country. The essays were shaped in part by the harsh conditions of Missouri, the state I call home, a state that had long been the bellwether of American politics and now served as the bellwether of American decline. But the crisis I documented was nationwide: rising political paranoia, opportunity hoarding by wealthy elites, a post-employment economy of side hustles and unpaid labor, the weaponization of digital media by dictators and extremists, and the catastrophic consequences of unchecked corruption. These were not abstract concerns. The cumulative effect was a collective agony intensified by the all-American shame of seeing systemic breakdowns as personal failings. It had been a long time since I or anyone I knew had dreams instead of circumstances. I had seen these conditions before in countries often presented as antitheses of my own. Prior to covering the United States, I was an academic researcher studying dictatorships in the former Soviet Union, focusing mainly on the Central Asian country of Uzbekistan. Until 2016, Uzbekistan was ruled by Islam Karimov, a former communist official who became Uzbekistan's first president in 1991 and remained its dictator until his death. Constitutional term limits be damned. Like all Central Asian presidents, Karimov was a kleptocrat, a leader who abuses executive power to enhance their personal wealth. Kleptocracy literally means rule by thieves. Kleptocracy usually goes hand in hand with autocracy, a system of government in which one ruler holds absolute control. And Karimov was no exception. He began his tenure proclaiming that he would make Uzbekistan great again, and plastered his catchphrase, Uzbekistan, a future great state, on ubiquitous signs. He called independent media the enemy of the people, and hid information about national crises from the public. He persecuted political opponents, LGBT citizens, pious Muslims, and other marginalized groups. He had an intense yet strange relationship with Russia. And he had a glamorous fashionista daughter who kept inserting herself into political affairs despite her utter lack of qualifications. You may see where I'm going here. When I realized in 2015 that Donald Trump was likely to become the President of the United States, I began warning everyone I knew to prepare for what was long thought impossible: an American autocracy wrapped in a tabloid veneer. This should not have been seen as far-fetched. In eras of economic decline and political chaos, like America in 2015, demagogues and dictators tend to arise. Trump was the former and seemed determined to be the latter. He ran his campaign like an autocrat in waiting, scapegoating immigrants and minorities, threatening